Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to today's training when I am going to teach you a two movement with a possible third movement added, if that's what you want, beginner flow. Now, I often find that when I look for steel mace flows online, a lot of it is really complicated. There's some really elaborate movements, one-handed movements. No one seems to be teaching beginner flows. And we all have to begin somewhere. So today I'm going to remedy that, and I'm going to teach you a flow that I teach all my beginners. And that is also, I believe, the first flow. Yeah, it is the first flow in my Warrior Woman program as well. So if you have any questions during the training, please just put them in the chat box. Let me know where you're joining me from and who you are. And also let me know if you have a mace at home, because I'm assuming that if you are interested in mace training, you probably have bought your own mace now. Now, this training is obviously suitable for any skill, any level of skill, fitness, and ability. I'm going to break everything down for you so you know exactly what you're doing, so you can stay safe and not hurt yourself, because that's not what we want. Okay, so two movements. We're going to learn the lateral lunge. The lateral lunge is like one of the fundamental steel mace movements. And then we're going to learn a vertical press. So we're going to be pressing the steel mace overhead. What I love about this flow, that it has a lower body movement and an upper body movement. Okay. And it's a wonderful flow with which to start your steel mace journey. All right. And we can possibly add a leg lift as well, just in case you master the movement or you will be doing this mace flow for a while. So then you can remember how to slightly increase the complexity of this mace flow. Okay. So first of all, I'm just going to run through some fundamentals. I'm going to run through the lateral lunge body weight first, so you understand the biomechanics and you can practice how to do the lateral lunge with the perfect form. Then we're going to run through some biomechanics and correct form for overhead pressing. And then I'm going to teach you the movements with the flow, and then we're going to smooth it out together and combine it into like actual flow. Okay, so what you do with the mace flows, you will always learn the movements body weight first, then you will learn them separately with the mace, and then you combine them together into a flow. Okay, that is kind of the correct order in which you should be mastering the mace flows. Okay, so let's just run through the lateral lunge. So what a lot of people don't understand about the lateral lunge, that it is actually a hip hinge. Okay, so if I showed you sideways, where a lot of, sorry about the wind too, if that's rustling in the microphone. So where a lot of people go with the lateral lunge, they go here. So you can see that I am now really popping the knee over my toes. That is just loading the quadricep and the knee. Okay, that's why people complain about lunges hurting their knees, often because they don't understand these biomechanics. Where you need to be doing your lateral lunge is here. Okay, so see, my shin is almost perpendicular to the ground, but what I'm doing, I am really popping my hips back. So now I'm actually loading my posterior chain. So I'm loading the glute and the hamstring. So I'm leaving the knee completely alone and I'm loading the glute. Obviously, you need to stabilize the abs as well, and then leave the chest nice open. You don't want to be kind of collapsing into this rounded spine. Okay, so where you can go first is you can just go nice and wide. Another mistake people make, they go too wide. Okay, so you're going to have to suss out where it's your perfect distance. Okay, but where you can go first is into a stationary lateral lunge. So you're just going to kind of guess where you're going to be with the feet, and then see if you can align your hip joint, which is in the middle here at the front, that needs to fall roughly above the heel. So if I'm here, I'm too far out, and again, I'm starting to expose my knee to a lot of tension. Okay, obviously, if I'm too narrow, then I don't really have enough room to move in. Okay, so you're gonna have to figure it out. Everybody's legs are different length. Yeah. Everybody's got different bodies. So for me, it's roughly about here. And you can also open the toes a little bit if that's more comfortable for you. I personally prefer my toes to be facing forward, but you can open them up. Okay. That is totally okay. So let's just start at the beginning with this version. Okay. Body weight. And you're going to do lateral lunges on each side. Okay. So you're just kind of testing it out, see how it feels. See if you can really load the glutes and hamstrings and leave the quads and obviously the knee alone. Okay. If I show you this movement sideways, it's here. Okay. See how I'm really sinking the hips back. My shin is almost perpendicular, almost, not quite. That would be really hard to achieve. Yeah. So this is my stationary lateral lunge. Once you get comfortable with this and you know what it should feel like, then you can start going into the moving lateral lunge. Okay, so you start with your feet together. Then you roughly remember how wide you go, and then you go into the lateral lunge. Okay, so first you can just go on one side. Yeah, just practice. Roughly kind of figure out where you're falling with the foot, how far you need to step. Okay. And then obviously you can do it on the other side and then you can alternate. Okay. I just want to make sure that I fit into the screen. Yeah. Then you can alternate. I suggest you practice this body weight first. Okay. It's really good to establish good form. Make sure you know what you're doing before you add the mace to it. Okay. So if you've practiced for a little bit, and let me know if you've got any questions about this, about lateral lunge. If you're watching on YouTube, just put a comment down and I will get a notification and I will answer your question. Okay. So lateral lunge with a steel mace. The grip is under over. So I am under by the mace ball, over on the other side. This is called the under over grip. Okay. And your hand needs to be right by the mace ball. This is the heaviest part of the mace. Therefore, this is the part you need to really control. If you're here, you can do that with some other movements, but at the beginning and for lateral lunges and vertical presses, you need to have your hand firmly pressed against the mace ball. Okay? So the rule for the lateral lunges is that you are always moving away from the mace ball. So I'm going to go that way, okay? Away from the mace ball. If I was here, I'm moving that way with the lateral lunge, okay? So hold the mace nice and close to your sternum or a little bit higher. And then you're going to do your lateral lunge. The mace ball falls underneath your shoulder. Arm is locked, shoulder packed. This arm just comes up to the shoulder, okay? So see how this feels for you. This is the lateral lunge, okay? It's a really nice stretch for the bicep line. You need to have the packed shoulder. You mustn't kind of twist and collapse the shoulder in, okay? If I showed you sideways, you are here, okay? Nicely sinking the hips back. And just try it on one side first, all right? Do a few repetitions and see how it feels for you. Remember, the mace ball is falling underneath the shoulder, roughly halfway between the feet, yeah? Not here, not there, halfway between the feet. Try the other side. So switch the mace through prayer pose. We've learned that in some of the previous videos. If you haven't watched the mace switches video, just go back and watch it. And then we'll go the other way. Okay. Again, try a few repetitions. See how you go. Awesome. So this is your mace lateral lunge. Now we're going to start talking about the vertical press. Okay, so I'm going to show you. The vertical press is this. Okay, I might have to slightly adjust the screen. So you are going to be pressing the steel mace overhead. Okay, so you're going to come, the whole flow is going to be here. This is the full flow, even with the leg lift here, which is a possibility that we might add at the end of this training. So this is your vertical press. First, we're going to talk about how to pack our shoulders when we do overhead pressing, okay? So most people, when they overhead pressing, they do this. They are kind of not stabilizing the shoulder joint very well, yeah? Where you need to go with overhead press is you need to obviously lock the core, so glutes, abs, and then you need to actively push the shoulder blade down while you are extending the arm up. So you're almost like creating two opposing forces, okay? You're not going to go into this. There's always going to be a gap between your ear and your arm, your shoulder, okay? So practice this body weight first, yeah? You can even do it with both or one at a time, yeah? I'm not going into this. And this is what I see in the gyms all the time, yeah? Which leads to really awful shoulder injuries. And this is how most people will injure the ligaments around their shoulder joint or the rotator cuff. They don't understand that all of these muscles here were designed to support the shoulder joint. Shoulder joint is a very shallow joint, which is fantastic because it allows us this incredible range of motion, okay? But we're paying for it, often with dislocation and injuries, because the joint is so shallow, yeah? So you need to utilize the serratus here and the lat down here. So as you are compressing the shoulder blade down, you feel tension here and tension there. And you need to keep the tension there while you're going overhead. Obviously, ideally also, you're going into a full mobility. However, if this is where you are at the moment, that's okay, because what you don't want is to borrow the mobility from the thoracic spine or the lower back, okay? So if you've got some limitations in your shoulder mobility, you're going to just have to work on it first, okay? So let's run through the vertical press with the steel mace, okay? I've got a 5 kilo here. So grab your mace and then we're going to go for it, okay? Yeah, I think that's good. So you're going to come from, again, under over grip, okay? First, you're going to place the mace into a seatbelt position, okay? This is called the seatbelt position for obvious reasons, okay? It goes from shoulder to hip, and then, you know, the other way is this way, okay? It's a seatbelt. From here, tuck your glutes under, engage. Lock the core, lock the abs, compress the shoulder blades down, press the mace overhead, okay? If you are still building your strength and it's quite hard for you to push the mace up, you can give it a bit of a push with the other end, okay? So maybe you've got a heavy mace, maybe you're just building your strength, maybe you're recovering from injury, it's okay. You can kind of help yourself with the other hand, okay? Ideally, the other hand is just stabilizing, so holding it very lightly, yeah? But if you have to, just give it a push and help yourself with the other hand, okay? With the other arm. So just try a few. Make sure you feel the nice loading across this whole line, yeah? That you're not doing this, okay? Try the other side. Obviously, you will have one dominant arm and one that's not so dominant, so it might feel easier on one side than on the other. That is totally okay, yeah? Just try a few repetitions. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat box, okay? Let me know how you find whether this is challenging for you or quite easy. It will probably depend how heavy your mace is, okay? So let's combine it together, shall we? So hold it under over. We're going to go into lateral lunge. Remember, we learned that we are moving away from the mace ball, okay? So lateral lunge. Seat belt Get ready. Lock everything. Vertical press. Come back. And at the beginning, go quite robotically. Okay? Just make sure you're running through all the steps nice and slow. Don't rush anything. As you are then going to become more efficient, obviously, everything is going to smooth out beautifully, okay? But not at the beginning. You're going to have to build the individual components separately before actually it will start smoothing out on its own, okay? So let's just go for a few more reps. This is where you should be when you're first learning. Nice and smooth, okay? Back to here. Get into the seatbelt and then push it up, okay? Switch and try it on the other side too, all right? Could feel quite different on each side, and that's okay, all right? Just have patience with this. Probably never done these kind of complex movements. Yeah? So here is your lateral lunge into vertical press flow. Now, once you've mastered this flow, you might want to take it one step further, perhaps add a little bit more challenge to the flow. And you can do it with a leg lift, okay? So the full leg lift is here. So you are going to be lifting the opposite leg to the arm that is lifting the mace, okay? So opposite. This would be quite difficult, okay? So it's this way. How you start mastering this is a lot of people struggle with balance, and that's okay. But it's absolutely crucial that you are conditioning your balance and working on your balance as you are aging, because those are often the reasons why people fall over and break a bone or break a hip, okay? So first step is you're going to go to lateral lunge. You're going to come in, and then you're going to start just going on tippy toes. Yeah? So this is kind of the first step towards the full leg lift. So I am not fully loading just one leg, but I am now starting to put about 70% of my weight on one leg and slightly offloading from the other foot. Okay? Note, you mustn't do this. Okay? You're not going to be loading the hip. You need to tighten the glute and the leg is perfectly straight. There is no, I've seen this before, okay? They will just load the hip in a really quite ugly way and lead to injuries and pain. Okay, so step one, going on a tippy toe. Okay, so you're starting to transfer the weight. There's a lot more weight on my right leg now. Yeah, and I'm transferring. Then, if you're comfortable with this, then you're going to start lifting. And maybe at the beginning, you might want to stabilize the press first and then lift. Okay? Because you don't want kind of go into it and then start kind of wobbling around. Okay? So the next step, if you're going into the full lift, is to stabilize, tuck the glutes, abs under, lock the shoulder, then lift. Okay? And then eventually, you will lift the leg and the mace at the same time. Yeah? So just map out the journey a little bit. You don't want to kind of run before you walk. It's nice to just break it down. You might also find that you can balance better on one leg than on the other. The final version of this flow is when the leg that is doing the lunging and the lifting actually never touches the ground in the middle. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean by that. Lateral lunge, lift. See, I'm never coming to this and then going. I am lifting straight away and then not putting the foot down on my way back either. Okay, so I have taught you so many different levels and components to this flow. Okay, any questions about this. There's a few people who joined me live, which is awesome. If you're watching the replay, just pop your questions in the chat box. Wow, it's a hot day here today. If you're in the northern hemisphere, let me send you some sunshine from the southern hemisphere. So you've got lots of steps. You've got lots of movements to practice. Be patient with this, okay? You shouldn't expect to learn this flow in one session. Just learn the movements separately, body weight, and then start adding them together. And then also I can promise you that it will smooth itself out, okay? That's a quite natural process if you practice. So if there is no questions, I'm going to leave you to your Mace practice, and I will see you next week for some more Mace training, and I will still be continuing with the beginner flows, okay? Because I think there is a real kind of gap about on the internet, and we're just going to take it easy and start from the beginnings. So enjoy this flow. It's one of the most fundamental flows in Mace training, and it is the first flow you will master inside the Warrior Woman program that is open all the time. So if you feel like you would like a more comprehensive program with Mace flow, so there's about 15 Mace flows and also interval strength training. So then you can do different types of training with different types of intensity. There is also mobility, just body weight mobility in there as well. Okay, so if that's something that you are called to, just either send me a message or you can just hop on the links, or I can just check the link in this live as well. So have fun with this. Let me know how you go. I would love to see videos or photos of you doing Mace training, and I will see you next week.